Hello, everyone.
Hello, folks. Good to have you here. Good to have you all here. And yeah, well, Mo's Mo's
We're s-
Mo's here.
yes, and Nick is that way, the other way from the way I think it's supposed to go. Don't
Uh,
give a dyslexic ADHD. This is like the most paradoxy of like left versus right. That I, this is how you get me. This is how I get kidnapped. They put me on a mirror screen and they're like, "You leave out of the left exit," and I am like,
oh.
"Pretty sure this is a trap." Nicholas knows. I led you on like a game trail in Delphi.
Yeah. Oh, let's not take this paved road. It must be down here. Yeah, that
In
was
my
interesting.
defense, I had already warned you not to listen to me. Now,
You did.
apparently, I'm charismatic and wrong. Like the Donner Party, we're going this way. No, we're going to go around. It's a shortcut. That, that's what happened in the Donner Party. There was one chick like me who was like, I got this, guys. I got it.
Yeah, two cripples stumbling around in the woods. What could ever go wrong?
And yelling at a cop.
Yeah,
Which
yeah. I'm amazed we got out of there in one piece.
I was shocked too. But you and I have been covering this case for a long time. I
Yeah.
think I kind of told you about it when the probable cause affidavit
Mm,
dropped because I was like, I'm not a lawyery person, but this doesn't make any GD
mm.
sense to me. Is this possibly, can you understand it?
Yeah,
And
and initial reaction is, what is this? And then, huh, what is this? And apparently, what we have been reporting about for the past year and a half is complete news to the news.
yeah, now in all fairness, because that's exactly what I thought, cases that I haven't dug deep into, like the Karen Reed case,
Mm,
I would have no idea about things that would sort
mm.
of be common knowledge, but this was stuff that wasn't hidden per se.
Yeah.
It's just things that weren't maybe directly linked
Mm.
if you didn't read the Franks motion.
Yeah.
And I think that the Franks motion, it came out and it was really sensationalized by people just like Vinnie Politain.
Mm.
I mean, you sensationalized it. You didn't read it. You didn't tell people that all of these facts, however sensational,
Yeah.
came from the discovery. So it allowed the state and naysayers to say basically the defense pulled this out of their behind.
Yeah.
So it is a little rich for the media that basically poo pooed and called this sensational garbage
Mm.
to now act like people who have been researching this, you know, like, how did you discover the Holy Grail, Indy? And it's like, because I read the daggone Frank's motion.
Yeah. And back when this Frank's motion got out, it was, as you say, people like us actually read the damn thing. Then some newscasters and court TV at the time and other news agencies went, oh, look at what the defense is trying to pull here. And this is from Discovery. This was at one point in time the state's case.
Yeah, and it's amazing because we started out with this probable cause affidavit that is so riddled
Mm,
with inaccuracies and general things that most Indiana homes are going to have in them. A Carhartt jacket, electronics, and knives and force multipliers.
mm,
Th- that's just going to be a bog average, Indiana home.
mm.
So these were not indicative of anything that linked him to the crime per se. These were just items they figured might have to do with it.
Mm. By the way, we have to say hello to the chat. Hello, 20th
Hello,
Century
chat.
Fox, Factual Lie, Gwendolyn, Christine, Freedom Ring, Honey 2800, Red Fondian, LTO Wendell, and the rest of you. And the rest of you.
It's always terrible when I get a super chat and I was like, I would like to forewarn you that I graduated before they started teaching Hooked on Phonics. So if it's wrong, please spell it like you would for a very, young child.
Yeah. Now,
Especially the Welsh ones. The Welsh ones, I'm just like,
why are you having those letters in there if you don't pronounce them?
I'm like, there's 103 L's, one W, and a Y.
And it's spelled and it's
Mary?
pronounced S. That's not an S. Yeah. Now, yesterday I checked. I checked out the Politian, whatever it is. Yeah, and his reaction to the press conference. Um, for you, yesterday's stream was demonetized because I had words. I had a lot of them, and most
Yeah,
of them
words
I will try to avoid to say today.
for the Delphi commanders? I mean, how could you find a word or many words not four-lettered to explain those people?
I had lots of long letter words.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had maybe that, and I used the word you yeah, and stuff like that.
It
So
is amazing how these gentlemen who turned out no results for 5 years other than, "Wait, we for reals got this, guys. For
yeah,
sures, we're gonna tell you." Waiting over here like, you know, freaking Game of Thrones fans to get the last, book written, and they hadn't done. I mean, if you go back and you look at the Franks memo, the amount that they did not investigate or
yeah,
purposefully, cleared within days. People that
yeah,
have so many more links than Richard Allen, it is
yeah,
not funny.
yeah,
People who confessed to multiple people.
yeah,
N
and then the also something that really sounds like a conspiracy theory, but actually was correct. One of the first persons of interest is a masonry brother with a prosecutor. You can't make that up. I mean,
You can't make any of this stuff up. I
mm,
mean, we have girls laid out in a ritualistic way with
mm,
all sorts of ritualistic trappings. They
mm,
go to a professor who says, "Yes, in fact." In fact,
mm,
the FBI says, "Yes, this is a
mm,
cult." But Delphi and state police know better, so they kick the FBI out.
mm,
They tell the defense that that professor not only disagreed, but now doesn't exist. It is a
mm,
fig Newton of your imagination. We can never find them again.
mm,
All of this is insanity, and it
mm,
started out insane. And that's what people like you and I, Defense Diaries,
mm.
Andrea Burkhart, people that joined in during the trial, that's what we've been trying to yell at people.
Yeah,
It's not that we don't want justice for these girls. It's in fact a deep desire to get real justice for these girls.
yeah. And whatever happened in that courtroom was not justice. And most
No.
of what happened in the courtroom was determined pre-trial. With, as Andrea said, regarding the third-party culprit, it is in Indiana rules. In order to bring a third-party culprit, you need a nexus. One of the examples of a nexus is a confession. And and then the state trooper, what's his face? I don't. He started out by saying, "I wish you would have been in the courtroom."
Oh, Holman. Oh, or not Holman. What's his face? Look, I didn't watch it because I wanted to maintain. Mr. Mo said I couldn't buy another monitor if I
Mm,
threw things at it.
yeah, and and that part of Vinny's reaction, I believe that was genuine when he blew a casket when he said the solution to all that he said there is transparency, and there were none because you didn't want us in there.
No, and therein lies the exact problem. The state has created its own monster. You
Mm,
can't have everything in secrecy, then whine when people start asking logical questions, start assuming there is something you are hiding because
mm.
you are hiding stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, this can't, you know, be an equation. This isn't how our court cases are supposed to go. I mean, and especially from a judge in full hypocrisy levels that years earlier crusaded to get video cameras and video live streaming into courts.
Mm,
She, in fact, championed, transparency. Now, my big surprise was that she didn't let cameras and the media into sentencing.
yeah.
I was for sure that she was going to, because it was going to be a way for the state to bully and
Mm,
point at and denigrate,
mm,
the defense and everything else. So I thought for sure she was going to let cameras be there for the sentencing. I'm actually pretty
mm,
shocked that she didn't let them in there.
mm. Yeah. Now, let's see here. Freedom Ring. The confession is here today, though. There's a special rule prohibiting hearsay statement of others claiming that they did the crime. And oh, you're gone.
I'm here. I'm just doing something YouTube doesn't generally want on camera, so I was taking myself off.
Okay, good, good,
Nothing.
good idea. Good idea. Mm. Now, question for Nick: Can the nexus be demonstrated with evidence that's inadmissible? Uh, oh, that's a hard question because that's the problem here. Uh, Judge Gall said it was inadmissible, and therefore there wasn't a nexus. So they couldn't bring in the confessions. They couldn't use it in a third party culprit. So in here, it is her opinion that it was inadmissible that made it go away. But if we go by the as hearsay, because one of the confessioners did it to his sisters, would that count as inadmissible? Probably, unless the sister, yeah, probably. But for the other one, Elvis Fields, no, because in his own words, if you if you find my saliva on the victims, I can explain it.
Who says that?
Yeah,
And he
but
was almost out of the way. I mean, he was basically walking back into his home,
yeah,
kind of turned right around, walked back and said, BT dubs,
mm,
just for funsies. If you find any of my saliva on there, I have a totally good reason, sir. And then, like, walks off.
yeah. But the reasoning from the investigators, they simply didn't believe him because apparently he makes crap up. But then again, now we know that there unknown male DNA on the victims.
This whole case has been. We went from the probable cause affidavit, which
Mm,
didn't pinpoint Richard Allen, to all of the motions in limine, to him going into, solitary confinement at Westville Correctional Facility with Odinist guards. And it was proven that they
mm,
were Odinist guards. As, said in the Franks memo,
mm,
the, handpicked replacement defense was going to possibly get a Franks motion or a Franks motion,
mm,
hearing. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but that would seem like direct bias against the defense. if it can be shown that Judge Gull was willing to look at the Franks memo if with her handpicked defense, but
Mm.
not with the original defense, it does seem like there would be inherent bias in that opinion. But that's just me. And
Mm.
Indiana State Supreme Court seems to be okay with this.
Apparently. But yeah, that shows the inconsistency in her, because she was prepared to listen to the Franks memo with her handpicked ones. It shouldn't matter who's the defense attorney, because a Franks memo should be heard regardless. But for her, she handpicked a couple of lawyers who she believed would follow her, and then they didn't. That we found out after the replacement were replaced with the original ones, that they actually stood by. So 2 sets of lawyers, defense attorneys, 1 pair handpicked by Judge Gull, stood behind the Odinist theory. You can't you can't make that up.
You can't make up the sort of links that the so-called prison psychologist had with YouTubers as well. I mean, this is all sorts of insane. This is nuts on a level which I don't think people understand how close this is to a, Gulag archipelago, kangaroo court masquerading as US justice. This man had no ability to have a defense. Basically, anything that was brought up as a defense was ignored or ruled against, to the point of parity and funding. Now, here's the other big thing that I think is going to be an issue for Judge Gull. Her rejection of parity and funding between the defense experts, basically not giving them any money and trying to stop them getting crowdfunding, and the state's basically open checkbook for this.
Yeah. Now I saw Freedom Ring coming in here with a hard question. So that statement would not be here said because not offered for the truth or offered to show present sense impression, an exception. For the Brad Holder confession to his sisters, that should go under present sense impression, because he said, what now? And she did reportedly, she did do a lie detector test and passed. Now, lie detector isn't allowed in, but it does show it has some bearings. And then Edward Scott here, confessions of a third-party culprit defense suspect are never allowed in. Apparently, in Indiana, it's a nexus that allows for a third-party culprit defense. It doesn't necessarily mean that the confession itself will come in. Now, I have to refer that back to Andrea Burkhart because I don't have that specific rule in front of me. Technically, there's supposed to be an exception for them, but it's crazy how many people go to prison knowing who really did it. Yeah.
It does seem like something that needs to maybe be addressed in criminal law, and I don't know how that would be gone about to do, but it does seem like there needs to be maybe some thought put into this and changing certain things.
Definitely. Now, should we go into what we promised here?
Oh, yes.
So, let's see here. We have to do this, and then there.
All right. So the sort of big bombshell that dropped, or at least to Vinnie Politain, and to the shock of us that still see his face move after all that Botox. Way to go, Vinnie. Looking good. Annie Hoozle. There were 3 particular people on the unified command or the task force that was looking into the Delphi killings of Abby and Libby. And 3 of these people decided to make an alternate sort of report because most of unified command was going with a single person. It was someone local, that kind of thing, but we don't know who it is. These particular 3 being Kevin Murphy, going through it because I don't. All right, so Murphy, Gregory Ferenczi, and Todd Click. Now, these are 3 that decided to give the Odin report. It's a 12-page report in which they go through Brad Holder, Elvis Fields, and a lot of these other people and show how they are all linked together, how they all had opportunity, how they all confessed to various people. Well, it gets a little weird here because Gregory Ferenczi was working on this task force with the FBI, but also it was more of a task force for like Homeland Security as well. And about 2 weeks after he turns in this Odin report,
5 days.
I'm sorry, 5 days
Yeah.
after he gives in this report, the Terre Haute FBI field agency office is firebombed. Gregory runs out, addresses, and it intercepts this gentleman. They both, or he dies. Gregory dies, and this gentleman is found not competent to stand trial. Now, the very interesting and odd thing, and the thing that takes this into Alex Jones territory, is that the gentleman who was attacking the Terre Haute field office and killed Gregory Ferenczi was a former Westville Correctional Guard with Odinist links. Now, these are verified Odinist links. He was verified as a former guard, and it seems a little bit beyond the level of coinkydink that he gets, offed
Yeah.
several after he implicates Odinist,
Yeah.
basically.
And as that private investigator said in the interview with Vinny, that Molotov cocktail was thrown into his office, his specific
Yeah.
office. So, at what point does this stop being coincidences? At
I
and
mean,
and it's so much more. Todd Click, the weekend before the trial started, which he was supposed to testify in, he gets arrested.
for, I think, falsifying documents
Yeah.
in his professional capacity. So, a man who has served multiple years, getting commendations, having a clean record, all of a sudden, right before he's supposed to testify for the defense, they find he's been forging documents and not acting within like the honorable discharge of his office.
I
It, at a certain point, there is enough smoke that it is in fact a fire.
yeah.
And at a certain point, if something comes up and quacks, swims in water, you know, lives in a pond, you eventually call it a duck.
Mm. Mm.
And so it's from all of this that I do think that now that things are over, now that gag orders are lifted, now that we can FOIA this actual 12-page Odin report and read that directly, I think normies are going to wake up. I think that as this and people who are able to talk about it are now, talking, I think people that maybe feel like right now we got them, and then more reports are going to start coming out. So I am hopeful, but this has been such a miscarriage of justice.
Mm. Yeah. Now, I do believe Todd Click wrote something that he said that they are twisting no, to court TV back in 2023. says no one in law enforcement believes Abby and Libby were killed in a ritual sacrifice. That is the defense twisting facts for sensationalism. But he was co-author to this 12-page report. So something doesn't add up here. And I
A lot
really
of
want
things.
to get a hold of parts of the discovery, especially his deposition, Todd Click's deposition.
Yeah.
And
I
hopefully Mr. Allen gets his appellate attorney from the state. Because then all the costs will be on the state for the transcript and everything. So hopefully, sooner or later, we can get a hold of it, or via a FOIA request.
Yeah, and I think once more of the discovery comes out, once more people are aware of what was not allowed in trial,
Yeah,
I mean, the fact that we had access to digital evidence of who was in that park, who
yeah,
was around those girls, and it was not brought in because it didn't show Richard Allen,
yeah,
it is infuriating. I mean,
yeah.
we have
Because
pieces that could have solved this, and we're just refusing because it doesn't line up with their patsy.
yeah, because in every other murder trial, they always bring up the cell tower data and the geofencing. Who was
Yes.
there at this time? And not allowing it in because it shows that Richard Allen actually wasn't there at the time. Now, of course, we all been covering trials where if your phone is off, you're either dead or the murderer,
Yeah,
depending on the theory. But in this case, they could have
it's odd.
argued that, well, he turned off his phone, that shows he's guilty. That could have been the prosecution's. No, instead they asked Judge Gould to exclude it. And she did. Exculpatory evidence excluded.
Well, it's almost like had OJ said, "Look, the DNA, I know it kind of has his DNA on it,
Mm,
but not everyone understands DNA, and really, do we need to put it in?" It's odd to me that something that is ubiquitous in other trials. In fact, that's the first thing that they do in most cases now is do a Cellbrite download.
mm,
For you to throw what how terrible does the state's case have to be in order to throw out what would be considered, inculpatory evidence in
mm.
any other, case?
Yeah. And it's so annoying because if they really wanted to get rid of what they claim are conspiracy theories, well, they're not helping by excluding exculpatory evidence. But my question is also, we know geofencing that Mr. Allen, his phone doesn't show up there. Who does? That's interesting. Who from the point where the infamous bridge guy video was taken? I want to see the following 12, 14, 20 hours. Who were there? Now
I
we do
Yeah.
know about the search party. We also it should be information who was in the search party. Okay, now we can track those people. Then we can also see who was supposed to be in the search party but wasn't there. I mean, there's so much information from this geofencing thing that we can get information from.
Well, we can also see if there were people not searching their assigned areas.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that would require a warrant and, subpoenaing everyone's phone. I'm not sure what the legal ramifications
Mm.
of that are. But it is interesting, and I do have questions as to I understand the logic of looking downstream, but the fact that no one looked very close to the bridge, it just
Yeah.
seems like you would start at the bridge and then start moving downstream.
Yeah.
And it It is very
Yeah.
odd to me.
Start where you last saw, and you knew they were going on the bridge. You had people testifying they met the girls by the bridge, who passed the girls because they had been near the bridge and they were walking. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It just a lot of this doesn't make sense, and it's that deep feeling that you get when you know you're something is doesn't add up.
mm,
And, uh, the state can say they were transparent, this was the best case ever, but if you are left with that lingering gut gnawing
mm,
feeling that something is really wrong here, then it most likely is.
yeah,
I mean, and we are supposed to be living in a transparent, judiciary. We are supposed to be able to understand this and to get all the information. And the fact is, what are we, you know, doing to change this? And I don't know. I will
mm,
say this case has been really hard on me, the fact that it went the way it did.
mm,
And but I will say that hopefully, I hope Mr. Politane, as much as you moved your face and
mm,
in shock, dig into this.
yeah,
You guys, as the media, you grifted like hell off of the Odinist,
mm,
antics and the alternate truth. Why don't you read the damn report and report on it?
yeah,
Instead of coming out and doing something sensational, as, Attorney Baldwin said, it's time for journalists to start journalisting,
yeah.
you know?
Because
I d
the lot of people like us, content creators, but our reach is limited. We don't, for some odd reason, we don't have the credibility news agencies still have, for some odd reason.
Nicholas, I wear a lot of weird wigs and have dressed up as,
Mm.
Garth from Wayne's World in drag, so I can understand why maybe people
Well,
don't
yeah,
trust me.
maybe, and I mean, I have my drunken streams and stuff like that. Well, sure, we have our issues, but still, we still report on facts,
Yeah,
and we show what we talk about. That's, I believe, is the difference. Because, for instance, the sorry, the Frank's motion.
yeah,
A lot of people read from the actual Frank's motion. News said, just made a 30-second segment describing how silly it was.
yeah,
And
and to just act like, "Oh my gosh, I'd never had access to this."
mm,
We all had access to this. That's why I really am irritated because he's acting like no one told him, and we've had people screaming from the rooftop, "If you would have just listened."
yeah. Now, it's very good for Court TV to have Defense Diaries and that investigator. And that poor woman is actually fearing for her life because people have been killed in and around Delphi because of this case.
I will say, I mean, after I do some of the videos, I do have a pause
Mm.
thinking, "Okay, I mean, did I go too hard?" I did call them brain dead redneck assholes, but I mean,
Mm,
is that really bad or just honest?
mm,
But there is a very real, I mean, at at to and up
mm,
to this point, these people, alleged people, have gotten away with impunity, all of the things that
mm,
they've done, all of the witness intimidation, all of, the collusion alleged. It
mm,
hasn't been proven, so just for
mm.
safety reasons.
Yeah,
But you could tell the fear in her voice,
yeah.
and people involved in this case who have tried to dig deeper have gotten, some creepy
Mm,
things happen. So it is not something
mm,
she's putting on. She's not being dramatical like Taylor
mm,
Lorenz. This is
yeah.
real life stuff here in rural Indiana,
Mm,
unfortunately.
yeah. And one of the things from that press conference, the chief of police, what's his face? he referenced the the crime scene photos, and of course he blamed the defense from leaking it. The defense didn't leak it. Not even Judge Gull could blame the defense for that. And those pictures were leaked before the burglary.
Yeah.
Those were out already. And then he referenced people should be ashamed of themselves, blah, 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 blah. And then he referenced people who got them emailed to them. All right, I got them emailed to me. And then he also referenced people around the globe. And all of a sudden, is this jackass talking about me? Then go. I'm protected by Swedish freedom of the press. So just try, motherfucker. Just try.
Oh gosh. I mean, like I say, Nicholas, we have space. You can visit us while you're on trial in Delphi. It'll be great.
Yeah. I might need a temporary permit. Can you get me one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my kids still think you're a wizard or Santa's twin. They're like, "Does he work with Santa?" And I was like, "Not that I'm aware of, but I will ask."
Oh, by the way, I saw the thank you, Atheist, and for Catweed for our fearless leader. Yes, Catweed. Now, thank you, but I actually have catnip grows on my driveway. So he munches on them every summer, Mr. Jingles, and then I have to carry him into the shade because he's out there in full sunlight. I, like a kite.
Thor starts singing to himself, and then he opens up like plastic bags of beans, just dried beans, rolls in them, and goes, "Oh, oh." And I've had to ask Mr. Mo, not that I like to people, but I'm like, can I tell people my cat is too high and I have to talk him down so I won't be able to visit your social function? Like, I'm sorry, my cat is too high.
Yeah, and I also said that Atheist and upgraded their memberships. Yes, I have the $3 and the $5 version, and there's no difference. It's just you might love me a bit more. I don't know.
Nicholas is the hardest working with members only stuff. My goal this next year is to be like Nicholas. I'm going to get a little bracelet that says, "What would Nicholas membership, activities be?"
And it wouldn't let me say catnip, but it says that here, so it went. Oh, but cat weed is okay, apparently. And yeah, Mrs. K. Grift, her kid thinks I am the Santa. That was so sweet last year.
Oh.
Oh.
Drunk Nick buys the children all gifts that he knows he can't keep for himself.
Yeah, drunk me. Oh, you haven't seen what drunk me or one of my viewers knows I'm getting into the Karen Reed case.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I got something in the mail. Hold on while I go.
Please let it be a wine glass and a wooden man. I'm going to need vodka sodas for the win. And a blonde wig.
Are you ready? I think you're muted or my sound is off.
No, I had to mute to yell at youngest most feral to get out because he's like, "I have eaten all the cookies." And I was like, That's gonna be good. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, for you who don't know, rubber duckies are a pet peeve in Canton, Massachusetts.
There is so Karen Reed, like, I thought Delphi had Dune-style lore. No, the Karen Reed case is like, who is the Kwisatz Haderach of this? I'm pretty sure some of the McCabe's are in the Bene Gesserit. Have you seen that woman with the teeth and she was yelling at people because she needed a sandwich just on the street? She's a Bene Gesserit, like, she's just like they're all high on spice.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to my algorithm, but it took me deep into Dune lore the past 2 days, so I am like a genius now. Better than Korean dramas like I went in last week.
Yeah. Now, the fun thing is somebody did something with rubber duckies, and a cop in Canton, not only full time, but 25 hours of overtime for $66 an hour investigating the rubber duck. And then it went in front of a judge who dismissed it because it's First Amendment.
You know, 2024, you have just been an excellent shining bastard of ridiculous. Could we possibly have, like, a normal 2025, though?
I don't think so. I don't
I
think so.
doubt it.
That Mrs. Kagriff, the ducks have me quacking up.
Yeah. Aren't they getting ready to start her new trial in the next year?
Yeah, I believe April.
Fun.
Mm?
And Lori Vallow's gonna be pro se, so I get to learn exactly what Joseph Smith would tell me. I mean,
Yeah,
the year's shaping into awesome.
yeah. YSL trial part 2, February
Oh, yeah.
24th or 14th. That starts. Oh, Needson Zeds says it was moved to April. Yeah, it would start in January, but they moved it to April. April 1st, the Karen Reed trial, which is very, very telling. It writes it, the jokes write themselves.
Which shitposting intern did this? I would like to give you an award. This is awesome. Like, whichever smartass, like, intern was like, "We're gonna put this on April 1st."
Oh, the chat is going wild here. It's going to be ducking chaos in 2025.
Oh my gosh, we need to have a Canton charity where we just take rubber duckies doing ungodly things in the background of Canton.
We need a duck parade in Canton,
Yes!
Mass. Or 4th of July, one of these big balloons.
Moms, get out your paper mache, get out them papers, get out that paste.
Can we
Are gonna make
crowdfund to a rubber ducky, one of these hot air balloons?
I think this is a noble and worthy cause we must all get behind.
Ooh.
I think the universe needs healing, and it only starts with rubber duckies.
The Court of Public Opinion says Attorney Amy E. Carozos, Chief State Public Defender, appointed to Richard Allen, now on the case record. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Let's see here. Who is she? She was assumed as 2020, new role as State Public Defender. She is serving. Oh, she's voted 4-year term as a State Public Defender. And she has an X. Or I don't know. Yeah, that's her. She hasn't posted anything since 2019. I'll give her a follow.
Yeah, I hope that the appellate case and the appellate lawyer will actually look at all the judicial bias. I will say, as an Indiana resident, I did not vote for any of the current Supreme Court justices that came up with not taking her off the
Mm.
case. Now, not that any, and the AG, I voted to take him out,
Mm.
but no one else agreed with me.
Yeah, just in case, I'm sending the thing over to Andrea Burkhardt, that she
Oh,
probably already
yeah.
knows it. Because on one of her streams, she said if they ask, she will be glad to help. Because Andrea Burkhardt is a very successful Washington-based appellate attorney. So, yeah. Which means, yeah, hopefully. The sad
Yeah.
part is if this appellate is successful and is sent back for a new trial, unless Judge Gould retires, it's her again. But
And
if the appellate court is very specific in things she can't do, as in she can't hinder a third-party defense, she can't hinder the geofencing, she can't hinder that if they are very specific in their ruling, it tilts somewhat back. But then again, she can ignore it.
well, yeah, that's the thing. Unless you take Judge Gull off this case, and let's be real, even if we don't go with
Mm.
the bias, she was not fit for purpose. The defense didn't get paid. There were rulings and motions that she kind of she fucked, into
Yeah.
the distance. She got sick for like a month and a half. This was
Mm.
the only case on her docket, and yet she was
Mm.
woefully behind in sort of the administrative,
Yeah.
duties of this case. So
Yeah.
even
She
throwing
yeah she
aside,
recused herself from all other cases because of illness, but she kept this one.
yeah, so even if we go outside of her very clearly demonstrated bias, there were, you know, grave issues with even her administrative,
Mm.
care of this case. So I would attack from both sides
Mm.
if I were an appellate attorney
Yeah.
and cite so many things that she kind of was lackadaisical on
Mm.
this case.
Mm. The Court of Public Opinion, Carrozos will hire a private law firm to represent Rick. Okay, that is both good and bad. Good, outside perspective, removes a bit of the because the public defender's office are funded by the state, but but they don't pay good when they hire law firms. But if they do hire law firms, yeah, we will see what happens if that law firm reaches out to us or any other of the others, like Defense Diaries and stuff, and hey, we need to investigate some things, but we don't have the funds for it. Yeah, my liver can handle one more, one more of those, crowdfunding and stuff.
Yeah, and the story doesn't end here. I mean, those intimately familiar with the Zachariah Anderson case know that these appeals take money. I mean, just the transcripts alone are going to be astronomical. I believe the last time I checked to look at any sort of transcripts for any hearings upcoming that they were going to start giving out, it was like $5.95 per page.
Yeah, yeah. I believe the total cost for the transcript for the Zachariah Anderson case was between $12,000 and $14,000, just for the transcript for a 3-week trial or 17-day trial.
Yeah, and this is gonna be astronomical. I
Yeah.
mean, this is going to be, and as Nick was saying, that might be a strategic point that they were using a state, attorney for this because then the
Mm.
state is responsible for these kind of, you
Mm.
know, costs.
Yeah. So that's the good part. With the state fills in, then they take the cost. Well, yeah, they have to, because they need, for an appeal, you need the transcript and everything that happened pre-trial. and I do believe that the pre-trial things or the rulings or non-rulings, yeah, appellate-wise, he has a better than an average chance of a successful appeal. But it could take years. It
Yeah,
will take years.
and let's say here is the real kick in the tit that I find. Now that he's been convicted,
Mm.
even if some of the people, the obvious suspects that we have, go out and stand out on a front door and say they did it, their defense attorneys can always use this as reasonable
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah,
They can find, DNA, they can find everything, but you guys spend, $4 billion or $4 million to tell me he was guilty.
mm.
So it's always going to be there.
Mm. Yeah. And so, sadly for Abby and Libby, justice will probably never be done in this case because of the investigators, because of the prosecutors, because of the Judge Gold. They will never see justice.
It's a sad parallel to the John Benet Ramsey case.
Yeah.
The investigation was so thoroughly bungled at the beginning that you have no you have no lack of reasonable doubt.
Mm.
They went after the parents, they went after the brother, they went after this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, they did not secure the crime scene, and
Mm.
that's what it's looking like here as well. It looked like
Yeah.
a lot of cops over their head, and when wiser people came in, when the FBI came in and said, "We have a theory,"
Mm.
they got a little butthurt and said, "No, we can do it our own selves."
Yeah. Becky says they could spend 4 million on prosecution, but not 10,000 to determine the height of bridge guy. And it doesn't take now. It takes 10 grand to get an accredited sciencey thingy done, but people with the knowledge and know-how have already done it. The tracks are this wide. Here are all the measurements. Here, bridge guy is 5'10", plus minus an inch.
Well,
And
they didn't even test the hairs on the little girl's
yeah,
hand. I mean, what in the name of all that is Cheetos? You've
mm,
had how many years, Nicholas? And they're
mm,
like, "Look, we're rushing it." They
mm,
spent already 20,000 allegedly according to records on, ancestral kind of genealogical DNA.
yeah,
And they couldn't figure out that these were most likely her siblings or
mm,
Abby's siblings, but on Libby. I
yeah,
mean, this is
yeah. Out of the 4 million, I believe the defense attorneys' salaries for their 2 years plus overtime was around 600,000. But that goes to not salary, but also for their assistants. For I mean, every they have costs, so 600,000, and I believe they got roughly 60 or 70,000 to hire experts. That and then they asked for more because the state brought in their more experts, and they asked for extra funding to debunk the state's experts. And George Gold said, "Nah," and that is why we held a fundraiser so they could actually hire experts. Now they
yeah.
didn't. Apparently, they didn't get to use. But then again, if you can't get the third-party culprit defense in and all the other stuff, you can't bring in the experts for it either.
I would foresee, if this isn't a case that you've kept an eye on, or, you know, it may not be a case that kind of spoke to you. The kid cases are hard, I'm not going to
Mm,
lie. What I will say is if you are interested in legal stuff, I do believe that, things are going to start really heating up on this. I think things are going to start being told to the general public that
Mm,
weren't common knowledge unless you were really immersed in this case. And I
yeah.
think the more that comes out like that,
Mm,
the more normal people are going to ask questions. And I find
yeah.
that to be a good point,
Mm,
but still frustratingly slow.
yeah. And now, when the gag order is finally lifted, now I agree with that investigator. She can't talk too much because the new sets of lawyers have to determine what is good and what is not good. So, yeah, but we still have probably, I hope they will release the actual Odin report, because everything in this Frank's motion, everything in it is from discovery. That
Well,
the
yes, I
cops
mean,
actually had this as a
let me
theory.
I mean, these come directly from the footnotes are all
Mm,
from, Murphy depositions,
mm,
line 1 through 25. And I have a series of videos in my
mm,
Delphi playlist where I read the entire Frank's motion.
mm,
And, it does go deeply into the crime scene, so I do have a warning on that one.
mm,
But every other part, all of this is cited. This is not stuff that they just pulled out of, their behind and
mm,
said, we think a cult did it. No,
mm,
these were things that were given to them. But
mm,
in another odd twist about the Odin report, yes, it was in discovery, but it wasn't given to the defense until right before Todd Click was going to do a deposition
yeah,
in which the defense was going to learn about this alternate Odinist theory.
yeah,
And the state didn't think they knew about this alternate theory. And then they were finally given the certified letter that Todd Click had sent in because he was genuinely worried that Richard Allen was being railroaded.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there are a lot
mm,
of little stories like that. There
mm,
are,
yeah. And other things that I'm still astonished when the discussion happens on X. When I tell people that 70 days of interviews are gone from the investigation, they think I'm lying, that I'm making it up. I'm not making that up. And the prosecution tried to hide that from the defense. Oh, I think they learned about it mm, just a few months ago, a few months
yeah,
before the trial. They learned by mistake from the prosecution that, wait a minute, where are the 70 days of interviews, including the first suspects? Gone, missing. They claimed in pre-trial they didn't even have a list on who they interviewed. Then at trial, Holman said, of course I have a list. So they kept that from the defense as well, so they couldn't go and interview some of the people before trial.
yeah. If you can't win without all of these
Mm,
underhanded things, if you can't win, then you don't have a case.
mm. Hey, Michelle has been a member for 3 months. Says, Nick, please never change. I love the genuine person. I'm too old to change. I started out my life with a very, very limited amount of fucks to give.
That's it. That's the children book. Nick of the little fucks to give. And then and just Nicholas off he fucks. And
Yeah.
then that's just every page of the children's book
Mhm.
has you just slightly all
Yeah.
out of focus
Mm.
walking off. The kids were gonna play a game, but
Yeah.
Nicholas decided it was stupid. Off Nicholas fucks.
As Becky says, isn't that a Brady violation? Oh, yeah. But Judge Gold doesn't care.
No, it wasn't. She said it didn't have malice or it wasn't
Yeah.
deliberate.
It wasn't deliberate, it wasn't with malice, and therefore it's not a Brady violation. but which I believe she is completely wrong in. But she's the judge.
Yeah. And I do want to, I think, during this year, try to find a Judge Gull case prior to this that was televised to see if this is just her general demeanor towards
Mm,
defenses. If I mean, it almost seems like one of the
mm,
defense attorney's sons, like, invited her granddaughter to prom and then broke up with her, like, the day before prom. Like, there
mm,
is some deep-seated rage
mm,
for Judge Gull against the defense.
mm, mm. Yeah, because if this is how she handles her more known cases, because it seems like she determines guilt and then she forms the trial after it. Because there are people in her trials that have been found not guilty. There are people who have been found guilty, and I don't trust any of them anymore.
She has shown herself to be everything that you fear a judge will be if you're in a case with her. She has become the very caricature of a,
Mm,
biased judge. Uh, she's gone to the point where it's almost cartoonish
mm,
because she knows there's no consequences.
mm. You want some treats, Mr. Jingles? I got him a cat treat advent calendar.
He's like, "I am here. Serve me." There's no catnip on the driveway. It's too cold. Serve me my catnip.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Wait, it comes out of this package. I shall simply take the package."
There you go, Mr. Jingles. Okay. Shall we read some from the Frank's memo regarding this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is now just to keep in mind that the Frank's memo, should you want to read it, is 136 pages. It has its own syllabus, okay? Like, that's the amount of level
Mm,
of but 12-page Odin report. As part of discovery, the defense received a 12-page Word document that provided a summary of Trooper Kevin Murphy's investigation of the Odinite angle. Over time, for reference purposes, the defense has come to call this document the quote unquote Odin report. Therefore, to more clearly reference this document throughout the rest of the memo, the defense will use the moniker Odin report when discussing this report. The Odin report was created by State Trooper Kevin Murphy, who thankfully was independently curious. I just love the subtle shade that was all through the Frank's memo. The unified command through Liggett, I still want to say Liggett because
mm.
maybe it's my deep ingrained dislike of the French. Like, you are late and French. Liggett and Hammond had concluded by March 2017 that Brad Holder should be cleared as a suspect, as will be detailed later. Further, Unified Command had claimed it concluded very early on, probably March 2017. So they were unalived in February. By March, that Odinites were not involved, as discussed earlier. Despite Liggett and Tolman clearing Holder as a suspect in March of 2017, and despite a mystery Purdue professor dismissing all links between Odinism and the murders, Murphy pressed on. Murphy began investigating a man named Elvis Fields down in Rushville, Indiana, about 126 miles away. The fruits from this investigation ultimately boomeranged Murphy as well as law enforcement officers Greg Ferenczi and Todd Click back to Brad Holder, therefore back to Odinism. Murphy, Ferenczi, and Todd Click's dogged pursuit of the truth is what we civilians and those accused of crimes should expect out of law enforcement. These honorable law enforcement officers were knocking on doors and conducting interviews, going wherever the evidence led them. Immediately following an interview, Murphy would reduce key aspects of that interview into a Word document. Over time, the Odin report grew from a single page from his first interview with Mary Jacobs to 12 pages, with the last pages used for summing up his thoughts from all the interviews he'd conducted. The defense has attached this document to the memorandum and marked it as Exhibit 36. I need to write that down so I remember what exhibit I'm actually asking to FOIA. Because they'll be like, that'll be 890 billion, ma'am. I'm like, no, I just want the 12 pages. I'll pay 150. Surprisingly to Murphy, even though he was handing over to Unified Command powerful evidence that really painted a clear picture of who was involved in the murders, Holman and Liggett did not seem interested. Eventually, Murphy said that Unified Command phased out the Odinite/Rush County angle, and that's from his deposition, page 11, lines 1 through 25. He, Murphy, figured that this phasing out was due to Unified Command knowing things he, Murphy, didn't know, that eliminated the Odinism angle. Murphy further stated, quote, I kind of took my marching orders and just did what I was told and went where I was needed, end quote. And that's from Murphy deposition, page 11, lines 16 through 21. So these are all coming from depositions. These are not things they, just learned off of Facebook or whatever else. In other words, Murphy trusted that Unified Command was doing the right thing. The defense would encourage the court to stop and review this document before continuing to read this memorandum, as the Odin report will be discussed over the next several pages. Who is Brad Holder? Who is Patrick Westfall? Who is Johnny Messer? Who is Elvis Fields? Who is Rob Abrams? And why does the evidence strongly point to these men having been involved in the murder of Abby and Libby? The Odin report provides much of the information. However, the report is not the only source of evidence provided by the state of Indiana that links these men to the murders. The investigative fingerprints of Todd Click and the late Greg Ferenczi are prominently peppered throughout the Odin report as well. Click also prepared a roughly 85-page report and delivered it to Unified Command. However, the defense did not receive this document until September 8, 2023, nearly 10 months after defense counsel entered their appearance. That's not shady at all.
No.
I mean, no. Like, people that just investigated don't kind of go with you, but we'll just hide their report. The defense will show that Liggett and the rest of Unified Command knew but refused to act on. This information is also what Liggett concealed from Judge Diner. The defense will include evidence that links these men to the crime scene and to each other, including the intimate knowledge that these men had of the crime scene that only someone who had been at the crime scene would know. Would you like to take over this one?
Sure. Brad Holder's connection to the crime scene. Brad Holder's son, Logan Holder, was dating Abby Williams at the time of the murders. Nobody denies this fact. Amber Holder, for example, discusses this fact on page 9 of the Odin report. Exhibit 37 is a document memorializing the only known interview of Brad Holder concerning the Delphi murders, at least through August 30th, 2023. In that document, it is learned Brad Holder details that he was usually in Delphi every weekend, visiting his friend Patrick Westfall and attending Asatru religious ceremonies at Patrick Westfall's house, usually on Sundays. Asatru is interchangeable with Odinism. Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder had been friends prior to the murders of Abby and Libby. In fact, Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder were found in a photograph together as late as January 21st, 2017. Find attached a copy of said photographs, marked as Exhibit 38. Murphy noted on page 11 on the Odin report that, quote, Westfall appears 10 times in pictures that Holder posted on Facebook prior to February 13th, 2017. However, after February 13th, 2017, Westphal does not appear in any of Holder's post photos.
That's not suspiciosis.
What happened to the friendship of Brad Holder and Patrick Westphal? Amber Holder tells a very disturbing story. As can be viewed on page 9 of the Odinist-report, Amber told law enforcement the following. She, Amber, said that Brad spoke of Patrick one time when he was intoxicated and said that he and Patrick got into a fight and they no longer speak to each other. He told her that he and Westphal were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something that the other did not agree with, and they no longer talked to each other. She said the river was near Patrick's house. Note, Brad has a Facebook post with him and Patrick together on January 21st, 2017. Patrick Westphal was living in Delphi at this street, Delphi at the time. Find attached blah 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 blah, marked as Exhibit 39 and filed as confidential. This document is the narrative report of what is believed to be the only interview police conducted of Patrick Westphal.
Just like Holder's videotaped interview, as of the day of filing this memorandum, the prosecutor has not turned over the videotapes. So this is when we still thought the videotapes existed,
Yeah.
but the state was just sitting on them.
Yeah.
The defense only has a narrative that allegedly memorializes Westphal's interview. The defense has requested both Holder and Westphal's taped interviews. So as of this point, we still think they're there. We just don't know where they are.
And not until early 2024, it was revealed by mistake that they lost 70 days of interviews because somebody forgot to press stop. So it kept recording and recorded over and over and over again. I don't buy that. I really don't.
It just seems very odd that you have days and days of interviews. No one checks, no one goes back and says, okay, we need to download this particular interview. I mean, I'm tech not smart, but as soon as I finish a video I'm going to try to edit, in theory, I always save it because I know I'm terrible.
Yeah, I mean, and this is standard police work. Once you conducted an interview, it is recorded. You save that to a specific folder that is named Interview Brad Holder, for example. But here, nobody bothered to check for months if the recordings were actually there.
And there's no means by any way that we can get these back. Now, I'm not computer savvy. Yes, Patty B, we are going over the Odin-report.
The Odin-report as much as we can through the Frank's motion.
Yes, that's right. Nicholas has to clarify it because he's the lawyer.
So far, nobody has access to the actual 12-page report, but it is referenced so much in the Frank's motion. So, yeah. And we also know that they never re-interviewed Holder or Westphal.
Well, wait, didn't they?
Up until I believe it was April of this year, they re-interviewed Holder, and all of a sudden he changed his story.
Yeah,
isn't that strange? He changed his story to fit more with the narrative that whatever. Yeah. As much as we, because luckily that interview, the 2017 interview, there is a summary on paper. So as much as they can, some of the basic facts is, in 2017, Brad Holder said that he never met Abby. And in 2024, he all of a sudden, sure, I met Abby. And
yeah, it's beyond shameful what has happened here. And hopefully we get a hold of this, the actual Odin report, because
Yeah,
I would love to see how they made the connections.
yeah,
I do hope that the private investigator is keeping safe
mm,
and, secure,
mm,
because there seems to be
mm,
there is a point at which it does become a conspiracy when there
yeah,
are shadowy things going on in the background to
mm,
silence people.
mm. Now I see it in the chat. People who can't believe he was convicted. I can, because the jury only saw what was presented at trial, and the prosecution blew up, according to people who were there, more or less giant pictures of the girls, and showed both to the jury and to the audience in there. So,
Yeah.
folks, when you say, "Oh, the damn cat,"
Mr. Jingles is like, I am taking over this chat. We are talking about cat stuff
yeah.
now.
Now, so, and it is a well-known thing that crime scene photos makes people go, "I'm what somebody needs to be punished." That's the defendant.
Yeah, and you've got
Mm.
a state that says there's no one else that could have done this,
Yeah,
and you see those little girls. I mean,
yeah. So
I
I don't blame
never
the jury here at all,
no, and
because
I never sought out the crime scenes,
mm,
but that
mm,
dingbat that put it on X, I
yeah,
mean, I wanted to go find the people.
yeah,
It's motivating. You wanna slay the monster. You
mm,
are being told this is the man that did these awful things. I mean, are you gonna be the one person that sits up
mm,
there and says, "This doesn't add up,"
mm,
and potentially you're releasing someone that's
mm,
fooled you or fooled the evidence?
mm,
So
yeah,
I get it.
yeah, and every part of the so-called evidence against Rick Allen. I did this a while ago, the red herring video or red herring stream. They are all red herrings, because even if with the crime scene photos and Rick Allen's so-called confession, the crime scene tells one story, and it does
Yes.
not add up with Rick Allen's confession.
It
Rick Allen's confession was startled by a van, slit their throats, threw some branches, and peeped off. That's
yeah,
not the crime scene, folks.
no. The crime scene doesn't show someone so you were startled by a van, but you continue to decide to stage this crime scene. It it
But
doesn't make
his
sense.
confession doesn't talk about staging. It doesn't talk anything about the F tree,
Well, and
which
it
the
doesn't
crime scene analyst says she was killed over there, carried back, because no drag marks, no nothing, carried back and laid down. Other girl, not enough blood when she was laid down. She also has to have been killed somewhere else from where they were found.
why was one nude and one completely clothed and reclothed and washed off?
Yeah.
You would think that if I am Clarice Starling, if I am that, psychologist,
Mm,
and I'm asking him questions about his confession,
mm,
why didn't she ask that? She
yeah.
seemed to ask about, like, why were you startled? You have a man who had a heart attack who's going to, lift a 100-pound person
Mm,
or 200-pound
mm,
person, deadlift him and I
mm,
guess take them back.
yeah.
None of this crime scene speaks to one person,
No.
being able to do it, and it doesn't make sense. Again, why did you leave one girl unclothed? Why did it look like you were much more angry at one of these children than the other?
Mm,
Did one of them tell you no? Did they spurn your advances?
mm. Yeah. And
It
then
just
on top of that, you
make it
have
make
that
sense.
one of the crime scene whatevers. No, the coroner, who started out by saying two different weapons. And then apparently in one of the drug-fueled confessions, Rick Allen said something about a box cutter. Immediately, He changes his. Yeah, it's a box cutter. Well, you up until now you said it was two definite different weapons. One
Serrated.
serrated and one not serrated. But all of a sudden, so yeah, and
Well, that and I can't believe what I will say is that the late addition in the information about the cell phone, I definitely thought that was going to be more persuasive. I thought the fact that they were showing that either an auxiliary cord or something had been pushed in, because, and this is pure speculation to me, but you all see my complexion. I'm about Libby's complexion. If my nude body was out in the middle of Indiana dark, I would glow like a freaking light bulb.
yeah,
I mean, so that's what I don't get. You had a nude child who is my complexion who would shine and reflect, and no one, sweeping their flashlights across saw
yeah,
anything. I guess we didn't go on the uneven part where they found the girls because that's private land. Uh,
yeah,
but none
yeah.
of this makes sense. And
No,
that's all we want is for it to make sense and to get justice for these girls.
yeah. Some of the branches that was covering them was cut or sawn off.
Yeah.
Another
That
one of
that
these
indicates
weird circumstances. And if he had time to throw branches, you have a whole forest full of leaves.
yeah, cover them up with detritus. Why are you taking branches and not fully covering them up?
Yeah.
S-
And yeah, as if Five Cats and Counting, there were hundreds of people out there, and nobody saw them. And the excuse from the reporting of the trial when they tried to, well, weren't you at that area? Didn't you walk there? No, I thought somebody else searched that area, and no, that sounds stupid.
Well, it sounds like the fact that the police chief stayed in the fire station.
Mm,
I mean, you have something where you need distinct leadership and kind of logical, rational allocation of you search here, grid search here,
mm,
this, that, and the other. I mean, you have volunteer forces climbing. This is a logistical risk management sort of nightmare because you have untrained people out in the dark looking for two girls, which is a great human thing. But as the police chief, you've got to be thinking about all these other things. And he was
mm,
just staying in the fire, house. None of this makes sense.
mm,
The fact that Richard Allen got, pulled out of the, anonymity of a lost note right before, Carroll County was having a sheriff or a chief deputy election
yeah.
where
Uh,
he was getting reasonable, why the hell haven't you found this guy?
mm,
So,
yeah, it's Cassowary. How about that woman that lived near the crime scene who heard screams at 2 a.m.? Yeah. And the trail camera, which apparently, as shown in court, somebody was in front of it. That camera was directly pointed at the crime scene, or towards the crime scene. And in front of it, it's a dark, well, in the middle of the night, dark figure of sorts.
e-
And why was that hidden from the public?
why
Or,
wasn't the jury allowed to see the disparate sketches?
yeah,
If it was always Bridge Guy, if Richard Allen was and is and has always been Bridge Guy, then what about the four different sketches?
yeah. Let's see here, I think I have it. For those who haven't seen it, let's see. I will just momentarily share screen, window.
Yep.
Oops.
Yeah, those are them, our usual suspects.
These are the people that Holman says are the same person.
Yes.
And I don't know about you guys, but for me, that's not the same person.
No. And if you followed the case, if you were a local or semi-local, you were told to discard the kind of older man in a golf cap and go with the younger man
Mm,
about 2 years into it.
yeah.
It so we were all lied to, and I think that's where my irritation comes in because people want this case solved. People wanted this case solved and to find this person.
And now I want to show you something else. Let's here. I will remove that. And no, not that one. Darn it. Dun, dun, dun. I want to share this with you guys. Just something really, really strange. When you look at the sketches, and then, oops,
Yeah.
that
It,
is father and son, Brad and Logan.
yeah, I'm sorry, but the way these young girls were unalived, this was not an impersonal thing. This was not an impersonal attack, and that's why
Mm,
I don't get the Richard Allen. It just does not make sense. And I think I went in hoping with the probable cause affidavit, I was ecstatic that we'd found the person. And then I started reading it and I sent it to you and I was like, am I missing something?
sorry,
But
what? Sorry, I don't know
that
why
is
it does this. So,
but it has been an amazing letdown to see kind of how one judge can be so detrimental to the application of real justice. Judge Gohl had a chance to stand in here and say, "What where is this proof? What have you done?" You know, really holding the state and making the state live up to its burden,
mm,
and she didn't.
yeah. Now, with father and son, father claim well, the claims is that he has an airtight alibi, and he might have for the timeline of the prosecution. He has airtight.
Yes, but if the girls were taken and held somewhere, he
Then
has a lot of time.
yeah,
And for an airtight alibi, they didn't check out. So
mm,
they claim that he was at work and it can be
and then went to
proven,
the gym because apparently
as you do at
he
3 AM.
presented time cards, whatever's. And yeah, but if you have 5 years, 6 years, you, it's quite easy to create, especially if people are deadly afraid of you.
Not to mention, they should have gone through his timeline with a fine-tooth comb,
Yeah,
but they took his word on it, basically. They didn't
yeah,
check the cameras to make sure he was the one driving out of his,
mm,
I think he worked at, like, a dump
mm,
recycling thing. They didn't check the, cameras in the gym. They just took everything on the honor system.
mm,
This man was suspected in a horrific double murder, like,
mm,
within the first 3 days. There
yeah,
were so many tips, basically implicating
yeah,
Brad Holder, it wasn't funny.
mm. Yeah, because I mean, his son dated one of the girls, and
Mhm.
the girl's mother dated a person of non-white complexion. And when it comes to this local Odin Brotherhood, they are diaper Nazis.
Yes.
They don't. They are. For them, this is a race war. So,
Yes.
yeah. Interestingly enough, after Mo went home, I went back into Delphi and I sat down and I got a few weird looks, but nobody approached me. Not one. That was interesting. And I sat there for hours. That was
I
interesting.
was wondering, but I figured I needed to leave before I yelled at any more police
Yeah.
officers. True
Mm,
story, guys. I yelled at a police officer. In
mm.
my defense, he was saying something dumb, but I don't think that would have held up in court.
Yeah.
It
And
is Delphi.
yeah. And I see you guys in the chat mentioning many, many things. Yeah, and I agree. I agree. But this is, we try to limit because we will go off track anyways. So we're trying to limit this to the Odinist-report as was promised in the thumbnail.
Yes.
Do I sound like an Odinist? No, no, I don't. And I think they
You
would.
didn't claim to meet a weird guy in England who gave you, like, Odin's staff.
Oh. Mark Mirabello, the bastard son of what was it now?
Rick Moranis and Bill Gates.
Yeah, with the weakest chin I've ever seen in a human being, without actually missing a chin.
Yeah, I mean,
And
honestly, he could have used a Habsburg jaw, and he'd have looked
yeah.
about normal.
Now, this Mark Mirabello claims that he met Forsete, the Nordic god of justice in peacetime, and who apparently gave him a lot of things and information. And from that, the Odin Brotherhood arose. And it's all bullshit, folks. It is all bullshit. It is diaper Nazis clinging on. Oh, this sounds cool. Yeah, it's so immensely stupid. So immensely stupid.
And it's always the guys that look like evolution led them behind that
Yeah.
wanna talk about purity of blood.
Mm.
I'm like, "Sir, you have a flipper and a lazy eye, but I'm sure your purity is great. Keep wearing them sheets, all right? Because I don't
Mm.
wanna see you." It's like a
Mm.
reverse burqa.
Gwenian Garnett says, I'm a practicing witch. Hey, fun. It looked ritual to me. Not all those who follow the pagan path are violent, but some are.
Oh,
Yeah. When it
yeah,
comes
and
to,
they're bastardizing it.
yeah.
That's what I hate is I mean, and I know, Nicholas, it's more personal for you because
Mm.
it's actually taking something
That,
that people really respect, and
mm,
it's spiritual, and they're bastardizing it so
mm.
you don't go out with anyone tanner than yourself.
Yeah, these people tend to forget that my ancestors went everywhere. They went to the United States or to Canada. They went to the Mediterranean. They traveled down to North Africa. They didn't care about skin color. Well, they didn't care about many things like consent or and stuff like that. But they definitely didn't care about skin color. I mean, that's so stupid.
N no, and it's I they
Yeah, they
just
said
wanted
hi
an
everywhere. They parked everywhere.
they're the reason I have this complexion even though my mom says, "No, we have a lot of Native American in us," and I'm like, "From what Norwegian state does my Cherokee
We
tribe arrive from?"
Scandinavia has indigenous people as well. Maybe she just got confused there.
I I made her watch the new Frozen. She now gets it. I'm hoping my freezer powers come soon. Except, isn't it on the new, Vikings, isn't, Ragnar a woman of melanated color and a woman?
I don't watch that crap anymore. Also, apparently in the How to Train Your Dragon live action. Ingrid is now a black woman, and people, aren't you offended? No, I don't give a flub, because it's make
It's not
believe.
real.
We didn't actually train dragons 1,000 years ago. We didn't
Well,
live on rocky islands. Well, the Norwegians did, and so no, I
damn it, I'm gonna have to
really
change
don't
my
care.
report really quick. In 1713, they they all they got toothless. My teacher's gonna be like, "No." No, but Hiccup did. Hiccup got he upgraded to Astrid, who thought he was wienery, but,
Mm.
he grew a beard and he became hottish. I mean, making a point.
Uh, and off we went.
Pretty much. That
Yeah.
is Mo and Nick's children's story.
Yep.
Off they fuck, off of the subject, just dream over
Done.
yeah, us over yeah.
Oh. Oh.
You're gonna have to get Ellen's because I know that
Ellen Victoria Olsen Noe. Nick, har du någonsin slått Elsie Christensen? Dansk. Yeah, I know about her. I know about her. Yeah. She should have been knocked off this earth just before birth. Yeah.
well,
Mm.
we can only hope 2025 will do us justice.
Yeah. Because why?
2024 year of
Yeah.
the clown, 2025 year of retribution.
Yeah, because this is the year I have a feeling that every prosecutor start becoming ethical.
I haven't had enough gummies for that to even pass muster.
I have to translate maybe. Ellen asks, have I ever looked up Elsie Christensen? She went to Canada and started an Odinist cult through the prison system. Yeah, I know about her. I know about her.
Women, just learn how to knit. It makes, two hands always busy, can't do demon's work. I'm just throwing it out there. Crochet for those of us who are uncoordinated and can only work one hand.
Mm.
Maybe don't start up cults.
Yeah, maybe.
Or, I mean, if you are going to start them up, get a 501c3 like I am, and then it's tax deductible.
Oh. Oh.
Is
Oh.
anyone else just, and I know this is a really off kilter look at this case, but Nicholas, and I'm going to use
Mm.
curse words now. We're not
Mm.
2 hours in, and I apologize. But the one fucking time it's a fucking cult, and my state's like, nah, it's not. I swear to God. I mean, we had the West Memphis 3 that had
Yeah.
like no cult like things.
Mm.
We've got like everything but tarot cards being like
Mm.
tied on with fish twine on this thing, and dudes wearing like it's a cult t-shirt, and they're like, nothing to see here. And
Yeah.
I'm like, for the love of nothing happens in Indiana.
Yeah.
Could we at least take the cult? I mean,
Mm. Yeah. The one time it actually is, the
I
state says
know.
no. No, no, no. Ignore. 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 Ignore.
Every other time it was definitely Satan.
Yeah.
Where is the 1980s when we need them?
Yeah. I mean, this isn't even repressed memories. It's not
No.
toolmark. Well, you have that fantastic toolmark analyst in this case. Oh, it's a match. No, it's not. Yes, it
Not.
is. No, it's not. You try to match an unspent cartridge with a fired casing. You can't match those things. But
No.
apparently you
But
can in Indiana. It's allowed because
and metallurgy is a fake thing. Indiana,
yeah,
here with the news. No
yeah,
metallurgy.
the
It's fake.
metallurgy. They think that's alchemy and
Witchcraft.
witchcraft. Yeah, witchcraft.
I mean, I am trying to warn you people, Indiana, we are trying to poison you with high fructose corn syrup. I mean, we are this close to taking over before RFK Jr. comes in
Mm.
and stops us.
Yeah, I'm trying to make Ian do his analysis of but I need the transcript of her testimony. This toolmark analyst that testified in this trial. He's going to blow a gasket. He,
Well, yeah, every time I kept hearing ballistics, I kept hearing you and Runkle in the back of my head, like the Ricola man, like, bullshit. Like,
bullshit. Yeah.
you and Runkle and Bronca just in harmony, just
Yeah.
a trio of bullshittery just every time I read the ballistics info.
No. Oh, yeah. Toolmark analysis is not a science to begin with. It's a subjective opinion at best. It can be
Yes.
used to exclude, but it's too subjective to include. And remember, this is the broad that first said, oh, I can't exclude these other weapons until she matched Rick's gun. Then all of a sudden, well, now I can exclude the others. That's not how science works, lady. If your
No.
conclusion is I can't exclude, that is regardless of any other weapon. That should not change just because you found something that you believe matched better. Those doesn't disappear. Individual, and that is why this toolmark and analists should not be admissible in court because it's not a science.
Well, the metallurgist, the gentleman that I think the defense brought in, he
Yeah.
said these all have to be kind of, you have to add a certain level of analytical and mathematical sort of,
Mm.
I guess, categorization to make
Mm.
sure that it's not subjective, because
Mm.
what tool mark analysis is,
Mm.
forgets is that the human mind creates patterns.
Yeah.
There are there that's
Mm.
why when you look at an outlet, some
Yeah.
people see a face, because we are hardwired to take disparate info and make it a pattern or make
Mm.
something recognizable out of it.
Mm.
So it had to be very kind of chronological, very, this is this classification and then it's sub-classified by these things. And when I think he asked what, formula she used, she's like, I don't have a formulary.
Mm. Yeah.
It's like, what's a formula? Math? What?
Yeah. It's so insane. And folks, crime labs who uses this has been closed down in the United States because the people in it, they are not, they are bullshitting in trials. And that goes for DNA analists as well. There's a lot of crime labs that have had the last 5-6 years that has to have closed down because they make shit up and then
Okay,
testifies to it in court, getting people convicted.
Nicholas, I'm going full tin hat, but I
Yeah.
think FBI files and CSI files and all that
Mm.
was to condition us as juries to believe that you can pinpoint 100% a
Mm.
gun. Because until I started listening to you, I thought, to the exclusion of all other
Mm.
weapons, this is the bullet that goes to this, because that's how they portrayed it.
Yeah.
So I think it was all psyop, and they were trying to, get us indoctrinated into this is a real science.
Mm. Yeah. It's this CSI effect who got a lot of people into being into the program. Good, we need more of those. But again, DNA is not evidence in itself. If it's not supported by other pieces of evidence, like in the Zachariah Anderson case. One speck of transfer DNA in the back of his van means nothing if it has a probable explanation, which is Rosalio dated his ex. He was around the kids. And what is it to say that transfer from the kids to the van? Also, the same people who processed the crime scene went to his place. That's a clear transfer issue. If it is the same people. Not, okay, we have 4 people here doing this, we can send 2 people out there. No, they went directly from the crime scene to Zach's van. And they still didn't find this speck for, what was it, 6 months? When they went through it once again. And all of a sudden, it magically appears.
Yeah, and you're going to tell me that one man with back problems can deadlift a 250, I think?
Yeah,
Like
270.
6 foot. He was a large man too, like tall as well.
He was 6'2" and 270 pounds.
And he burrito rolled him into a carpet,
Yeah.
but left that little speck just because.
Mm.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Larkin expresses, Rosalia was likely in Zach's van on April 26 because he went there. So yeah, So yeah, just because a prosecutor says DNA does not mean it is an actual evidence unless it's supported. Look at the Rex Hoyman case. Now, I have my doubts regarding that DNA, but they don't hide it. They have bi-weekly meetings with the defense to hand over discovery. That is a prosecution who is not scared of anything. They bi-weekly meetings with the defense to hand over, here is what we found out this since last time we met. That's a prosecution that is not afraid of anything. In Zach's case and in the Delphi case, they hid stuff from the defense in trial for the list of people they interviewed, those 70 days that they claimed before trial didn't exist. And Holman on the stand says, of course I have it. Hidden from the defense, allowed by the judge. Clear Brady violation.
Yeah, so what I think is, because I'm going to go have to check on young feral that are more cookie than children right now. We didn't get all through this, but I think, Nick, you've read this, and I've read this. So if you want to get into this document, both of us have read this before. It's not easy reading on all of it because it does go through the crime scene. And I think after reading this, you may not be on our side. You may not think Rick Allen's not guilty, but you might have questions. Yeah. And that's all I want you to ask is questions. Why didn't the state address this? What, is going on here? Because I think the more people look at this, the more people are going to have questions.
Definitely. Okay. You have to check on your feral ones, and I have to be at work tomorrow because I have a few cases I need to solve before New Year's. In Sweden, I don't know if this happens everywhere else, we have something that we affectionately call Christmas layoffs. That is this employers who thinks, we are at the end of our fiscal year and I need my bonus. The easiest way is to cut down costs, which is laying people off with a day's notice. They believe they can.
That is.
Yeah. No. So, and all of a sudden, I have tons of work to do. Now, most of it is already solved because we affectionately tell these guys and girls that no, you can't do that. We have laws against that. We have agreements against that, so you can't do it. So often it solves by itself. Once,
Oh,
but
well, that's good.
but meanwhile, people actually have been fired and have to be rehired officially just before Christmas. Every damn year, every fucking year, same thing over and over again. And I've been doing it for 30 years and it never changes.
So
Always,
they go in just seeing if they can get away with it just
yeah,
this once.
yeah,
Do you have any like repeat violator,
yeah.
I guess, or do they pick a different manager to kind of take the sword each time?
We have repeat customers, let's say it like that.
Oh, for the love of Cheetos.
Yeah, and with the promise we will do better. And next year, same story.
They need to be made to drink Malort.
Yeah.
You'll tell the truth and you won't do it again.
Yeah.
Malort, and then you have to wait an hour to eat or drink anything else, so that Malort will haunt you for the rest of the week.
Mm. Yeah. But, folks,
Hey, you guys.
thank everybody for showing up and
Yes.
spread the news. If you have your own channel, clip things from this. Well, maybe not all of it, but clip things that you
No
believe.
parts where I'm
Uh,
picking my nose.
yeah, clip things that you believe deserves a larger audience. Make a short out of it. Because this is more important than me getting all the views and everything. Now, I don't
Absolutely.
mind all the views, but it's
Yes.
more important to get the information out there.
Yes,
Mm,
absolutely. Because this is something that needs to get out of there. Again, these are things that we thought were common knowledge that,
mm.
we didn't appreciate how many people didn't know these things.
Yeah.
And we go deeper into this on individual videos and
Mm,
series. So give those a look if this is a case that you maybe kind of saw tangentially,
mm,
but now it's kind of heating up.
mm. Yeah, and now is the time for it because if Vinny is a bit angry, which means that people see Vinny and says, "Oh, I should be angry too." And sure, it may not be the correct reason, but it is a reason, and these people will look this information up. So share on your platform, make your own video, and
Yeah.
yeah. So do what you can.
Yep.
Uh, but that's all I have for today. And Mo needs to go before she doesn't have a house anymore.
Yeah, that's always 6 children, the last
Mm,
3 boys.
mm,
Always a possibility, unfortunately.
yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us on
Yeah.
this day after Christmas, to get some more of the word out
Mm,
and maybe give you some thoughts and oh, and, my channel is Mo in the Deep End, and I kind of do every sort of little thing and, a morning news show. I'm attempting to get back into my evening news show,
mm,
but that's kind of what I do, just a lot of weird stuff.
yeah. Yeah, and I, of course, keep covering the YSL case as it moves along, and Delphi case, which I've been covering for a year and a half now, and I'm moving into the Karen Reed case. Going to do not a watch through, but yeah, so some of the cross examinations are epic, and I want to
Yeah, and you'll get
yeah,
to learn about snow
yeah,
and how dangerous snow is, and there was snow.
yeah, and oh, it's a blizzard, and I was like, no, it's not. It's snowfall. Blizzard is something. A blizzard is when you can't drive at all. That's a blizzard. Here they clearly could. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Thank you again for showing up, and yeah, see you next time. And
Yes. Bye, guys.
everybody go subscribe to Mo. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep. See ya. Bye-bye.
Tinsel tinkled in my hair again, wrapping paper mountain lions then, gift boxes hiding like little thieves, underneath the couch where no one sees. My needles stab at my bare feet, ornament shattered in defeat, batteries dead in every toy, stockings limp devoid of joy. Scrubber ducked up the kitchen sink, merry mess, I need a drink. Rudolph's nose just blinking red, taking down Christmas wish I stay